Here I am to discuss the part 2 of respiration that comes under the chapter life processes. Welcome class 10 students to this session. Last class you have learned about the glycolysis and respiration in plants. Today you will be learning about the respiration in animals. Before we start with the topic, let us recall the respiratory organs in animals. Here you can see the picture of an earthworm. The respiratory organ in earthworm is the moist skin. You can see oxygen entering the body and carbon dioxide leaving the body. So the respiratory organ in earthworm is the moist skin. Now in this picture you can see a prawn. The respiratory organ in prawns are the gills. And here you can see a fish where the respiratory organs are the gills. In insects, the respiratory organs are the air tubes or trachea. In the case of frog, you can see the respiratory organs are either the moist skin or the lungs. And in the case of human beings, the respiratory organs are the lungs. So the respiratory organ in earthworm is the moist skin, and this type of respiration is called as cutaneous respiration. In the case of prawns and fishes, the respiratory organs are the gills, and this type of respiration is called as branchial respiration. In the case of insects, the respiratory organ is the trachea, and the respiration is called as tracheal respiration. In the case of frog, you can see the respiratory organs are either the moist skin or the lungs. Hence, frogs exhibit cutaneous respiration as well as pulmonary respiration. And in the case of man, the respiration is pulmonary respiration. Now coming to the features of an ideal respiratory organ. What all should be the features of an ideal respiratory organ? The respiratory organ should have large surface area for efficient gaseous exchange. Also, the surface of these organs should be thin so that easy exchange of gas can take place. The respiratory organ should be richly supplied with blood vessels, or you can say it should be highly vascularized for efficient gaseous exchange. Another important point is the respiratory organ should be protected, hence it should be placed within the body. So these are the features of an ideal respiratory organ. Large surface area for efficient gaseous exchange. The surface area should be very thin and moist for efficient gaseous exchange. Respiratory organ should be highly vascularized, and also it should be placed within the body. Now what are the parts of human respiratory system? Last in the nutrition chapter you have learned the parts of human digestive system. Similarly here you have to learn the parts of human respiratory system, and this diagram is also very important. It starts with the nostrils, a pair of nostrils. The nostrils then lead into a cavity called nasal cavity. Nasal cavity then leads into the pharynx. Pharynx then opens into the larynx. Larynx is the initial enlarged portion of the trachea. Then it opens into the trachea or the windpipe. The trachea is supported by incomplete C-shaped rings. Cartilaginous rings are seen supporting the trachea. Then it branches into two bronchi. The bronchi further branches into bronchioles, and these bronchioles will terminate in the alveoli or air sacs seen in the lungs. So what are the parts of human respiratory system? It consists of a pair of nostrils. Nostrils then lead into the nasal cavity. Nasal cavity leads into pharynx. Pharynx then opens into the larynx. Larynx then leads into the trachea or the windpipe. The trachea is supported by C-shaped cartilaginous rings. Next it leads into two bronchi. Bronchi further branches into bronchioles that terminate in the alveoli in the lungs. Here you can see a muscular partition that is called as a diaphragm. Diaphragm is a muscular partition that separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. So diaphragm is a muscle, and that separates the upper chest cavity from the lower abdominal cavity. Also you can see the lungs are surrounded by a membrane called pleura. So these are the parts of human respiratory system. So which is the membrane surrounding the lungs? That is the pleura. What is diaphragm? Diaphragm is a muscular partition that separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. Now what is the mechanism of breathing? Last class you have learned that breathing is simply exchange of gases, intake of oxygen and release of carbon dioxide. That is what is known as breathing, and this breathing is only a part of respiration. Now what is the mechanism of breathing? Breathing consists of inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation is the intake of air. Exhalation is the removal of air. Intake of air means that air is rich in oxygen. Removal of air means that air is rich in carbon dioxide. Now what happens during inhalation? You know the diaphragm is a muscular partition that separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. During inhalation, the diaphragm contracts and it moves downwards. When the diaphragm contracts, it moves downwards. Also the muscles attached to the ribs contract and it moves outward. So diaphragm moves downward, the ribs move outward. Now you can imagine the volume of the chest cavity will increase. Once the volume increases, the pressure will decrease. Atmosphere is having greater pressure. Air rushes into the lungs. This is what is happening during inhalation. Now just the reverse in exhalation. What is exhalation? Removal of air. During exhalation what happens is the diaphragm will relax. When the diaphragm relaxes, what happens? It moves upwards. Earlier you learned when the diaphragm contracts, it moves downwards. When diaphragm relaxes, it moves upwards. And when the rib muscles relax, it moves inward. Earlier you learned when the rib muscles contract, it will move outward. When the rib muscles relax, it moves inward. Now what happens to the volume of the chest cavity? It decreases. Pulmonary pressure increases. Air rushes out of the lungs. That is how exhalation takes place. So what are the two steps in breathing? Inhalation and exhalation. During inhalation what happens? The diaphragm will contract and move downwards. The rib muscles will contract and moves outward. The volume of the chest cavity increases. Pulmonary pressure decreases. Air enters into the lungs. During exhalation what happens? The diaphragm relax and move upward. Rib muscles will relax and move inward. Volume of the chest cavity decreases. Pulmonary pressure increases. Air rushes out of the lungs. So that is what is happening during inhalation and exhalation. Now even after forceful expiration, even after forceful exhalation, some amount of air will remain in the lungs. That is what is known as residual volume. So what is residual volume? Even after forceful exhalation, some amount of air will remain in the lungs. That is what is known as residual volume. So one simple question is, even if you hold your breath for some time, will exchange of gas take place in the lungs? The answer is yes. Why? Because of the residual volume. Now the alveoli contain air rich in oxygen. The blood capillaries contain blood rich in carbon dioxide. So exchange of gas takes place. And once the oxygen enters the blood capillaries, the blood contains hemoglobin. The hemoglobin will transport the oxygen to different parts of the body. And from the different parts of the body, carbon dioxide rich blood reaches the alveoli. Carbon dioxide will move from the alveolar blood into the lungs. So this is how transport and exchange of gas takes place. So that is all what you have to learn today. Next class I will be coming with the topic transportation. Hope all of you have enjoyed this lesson. If so, please like, comment and subscribe. And for detailed notes, please visit the site www.ranipradeep.com. Thank you.